Hey, everybody. You're about to hear a brief retelling of the movie Bone Thrower. Enjoy the movie. Danny Meehan, nicknamed the Bone Thrower. Danny Meehan is the former captain of the England national soccer team. He is bored in retirement and, to add to the thrill of life, races on a car at high speed while jamming whiskey from a bottle. He stops on at a bar, orders another drink, and insults a cop, then slaps them in the face. For beating cops and driving under the influence, Danny got 3 years in prison. The career of the soccer player cut off abruptly when he was accused of organizing contractual matches. In prison, Warden Hatchie made it clear to Danny that he was a nobody. The prisoners piled in to shout and curse at the former soccer star as he betrayed his country for money. Danny was brought to the head guard, Mr. Burton. Tomorrow the warden will talk to Danny and he will offer the celebrity to coach the prison soccer team. He'll have to say no so the soccer player doesn't get it wrong. Hatchet hits him with a baton. Danny is shown to his cell and then taken to the workstation. He would work with Doc to clean up the trash on the grounds, like the paper-wrapped shit that the inmates threw out the windows at night. Doc sent an assistant to the notorious gangster and shady prison mastermind Charlie Sykes, who was serving a 30-year sentence. He lost a lot of money on England's match against Germany when one player suspiciously missed kicking a penalty. So Danny owes him. In the dining room, the newcomer is emotionally greeted by the psychopathic Nitro, who assures him that he can get him anything he wants. At the table, Danny is approached by Massa, Nitro's rival, who offers the soccer player chocolate and soft toilet paper. Danny is hooked up with an Iranian and 2 dark-skinned guys. They don't like him like the rest of the prisoners. Out into the courtyard, they bring out a chained-up, pumped-up convict. It's the legendary monk from Broadhurst. He went down 6 months ago, but they still keep him in a separate cell. They say he's killed 23 people and he did it before he got into karate. Even the guards won't touch him. As promised, Danny is brought to the warden. He praises his semi-professional soccer team. This year they have a chance to win the league and move up, and it is Danny's experience that can help them. But as previously agreed, Danny refused. The boss realized that Burton was putting sticks in his wheels, and he was tired of investing in the team and not getting a return. In the dining room, Danny was accosted by Keach, but the fight did not come to a fight. They were separated by security guards. Burton sprayed a soccer player in the eyes with pepper spray, and he was the only one thrown in alone. The warden is always betting on sports. Danny asks not to be touched. He just wants to do his time. Then it's unclear why he's attacking prisoners and guards. The old man orders Danny back to the punishment cell, where Massa feeds him. He also tells Danny to hold a match between the prisoners and the guards. Supposedly it would be the best training for them. This option satisfied both the warden and the senior guard. Massa is happy with his idea, and Nitro says that he could also become a professional, but there is one problem: he likes to make bombs. The amateur bettor is in trouble. He just lost £5,000. Ratchet's always harassing Massa, specifically now because he's got a new boyfriend. Danny would like to see Sykes' men in his team, but it's authority that's forbidden them to play in his team. In prison, a fan of Danny is found, who even wears a t-shirt with his number on it. Saucer asks to teach him all sorts of feints. At the same time, the soccer player noticed strange things that are going on in prison. Doc explains to him that Sykes is telling his boss what bets to place in exchange for newspapers. But the newspapers aren't just newspapers, they're acid-soaked. So in effect, the warden turns a blind eye to the supply of illegal substances to the prison. Nitro has become a snitch. He offers to share important information if he is transferred to a prison with better conditions. Their conversation is overheard by Danny. Richie continues to bully Massa, and when he snapped at him, he started beating him with a baton. No one but Danny stood up for the poor guy. He was rounded up and thrown into the punishment cell. Massa threw him a ball to keep his friend from going crazy. Since Danny was a valuable convict, he was released after a while and brought to the field. There he is met by black guys, grateful for saving Massa. They are ready to become part of the inmate team. Danny and his manager Massa grade the players according to ability. Danny's neighbors are especially good. Sykes' right-hand man, Scotsman, would also be fine with punishing the guards, but the boss won't let him. Gangster Bookie threatens the boss that if he doesn't return the $5,000, he'll have his elbows and knees shattered. He found a canister in the interior of the car, and the car itself was doused with gasoline. Nitro wants to take Moss's place, saying he'd make a better manager. Danny refuses. It is good that Nitro likes him, because earlier he had already blown up 5 people. Then the bomber lied to Ketch that the footballer was friends with the head of security, and gave them up with their soaked newspaper. Together with the Scotsman, they battered Danny and were about to cut out his eye. But the footballer fought back, and when the guards came in, he didn't give up his attackers. So he proved that he is not a snitch. Moreover, the Scotsman apologized and offered himself and a few other good players to participate in the team. To keep Sykes out of trouble, Danny offered him a deal to bet on the game and choose the outcome of the match. The authorities shamed the player for giving up the national team, but suggested that he would rather bet on the prison team. Saucer really wants to make the team, and Danny didn't want to upset his fan. The warden complains to Sykes that the bookie he recommended is threatening him and he's broke now because he put all his dough into the prison team. Doc tells why he's been here longer than the rest of them, because the guy wanted to beat him up on the outside, and he took a grenade he had left over from the war and threw it through the bastard's window. He didn't know he had a wife and a 1-year-old child. This was a crime he would never be able to atone for. Sykes thought about it and gave the go-ahead for his men to participate, but there was one condition. Danny would fight his man so no one would think they were friends for nothing. Psycho Nitro already hated his idol, and Hatchet had moved him to solitary confinement so the snitch wouldn't get nailed. Danny was supposed to fight with Gentle Nick, but he's not feeling well, so the footballer will fight with Big Guy Hatchet, who has 30 wins and no losses. The chained fighters will take turns punching each other in the face and drink local moonshine after each blow. Catch is in jail for causing grievous bodily harm, and his punches are much more devastating than Danny's. Plus, he knows some tricks. But the Bone Man's jaw was pretty strong, and so was his tolerance for alcohol. And Catch passed out, getting hit with a mug of moonshine. That's how Danny got the support of Sykes' men. Now it is necessary for the players to play and learn tactics, but all they know how to do is not to spare themselves and break their opponents. It remains to find a goalkeeper, and the Scotsman unexpectedly suggested to Monk he could have been a professional if he hadn't lost his mind. He's said to have eaten a maniacal ogre. The scumbag came to negotiate personally with Sykes, because Monk needs to get out of the special sector. For this he hints to the boss to bet on the victory of the guards, and so he will earn a lot of money. Monk refused to play soccer, but he changed his mind when he learned that he would play against the guards. During practice, Monk was pissed off by Iroquois and broke his nose, then added that it was an accident. Danny promises Berton that his team will give them hell. The guards and prisoners are constantly practicing, and both are responsible for their training. Sykes informs Danny that there is a lot of money at stake and the convict team must win. The Scotsman, with the help of Monk and Saucer, shows the dirty tricks they can use against the wardens. When Saucer volunteered, he didn't realize there were 23 grand worth of tricks and he'd barely survived them. Ketcher demands that Nitro do something about Danny, or he'll move him back to the general cell and get nailed there for snitching. Nitro's busy assembling a bomb. The warden's secretary gets a kick out of Danny. She gives him videotapes of the guards' games and dossiers on them, and he pays her in kind. While at the meeting, the cons are discussing the guards' weaknesses, which they now know. Nitro planted a bomb in the soccer player's locker. Danny had forgotten some of his notes. Doc volunteered to bring them to him. As the old man walked to his cell, Danny confessed that he had given up the match because popularity had turned his head. He'd been spending money, and one day he was in debt to some serious people. He had a choice: either fail to score a penalty or be permanently disabled. At that moment, there was an explosion in the prison. Hutch had signed the papers to be transferred to another prison, but in reality he would be taken to the prison asylum, from which he would never get out. The prisoners said goodbye to document Danny polishes his cleats. It's match day. The team is greeted by the whole prison. Burton tells his players not to be provoked by the inmates, they must show their superior skill and win cleanly. Danny also addresses his team. If they win, they will remember it for the rest of their lives. Many inmates would like to be in their shoes. Sykes took the floor and said that Doc had been saving money all his life and had managed to do something, buy uniforms for the team. To let all the prisoners know what was going on the field, two of them were commentating on the match. The teams are out on the field and the bone throwers' uniforms look cooler. Danny asked the men to avoid foul play and only act that way in return. But as soon as the whistle blew, the referees started to get dirty with both teams. The first to come close to hitting the goal were the wardens. During the counter-attack, Danny was mowed down by the head of the guard. Danny's penalty kick was effective. The ball hit Hatchet's balls. The next kick was directed to the same place. At one point, Monk scored on his own goal and ran to the others, and no one would risk asking him to come back. Players demolish opponents and pull them by their shirts. During a free kick, the ball ricocheted and flew dangerously into Monk's goal. The Beast forgot himself and imagined he would turn on berserk mode to destroy all the guards at once, but he pulled himself together in time and saved the goal. Troy took the ball almost all the way to the goal and gave a pass. The Iranian failed to get his famous overhead kick. Danny finished the pass and scored the first goal of the match. 5 minutes remained until the end of the half. Monk continues to run around the field as an ordinary field player. At one point, the match turned into a regular all-against-all brawl. Even the commentators were clashing. That was the end of the first half. Sykes lies to his boss that he asked the cons to throw the game away, but they don't listen to him. Iroquois nose is broken again, and he's replaced by Saucer. The warden is outraged, threatening to fire the prisoners if they lose. He came to Danny and started blackmailing him, saying that Nitro confessed to the murder and told that Doc was sent to his cell by Danny, which means that he is an accomplice to the murderer and it's a 20-year sentence. So his team better not win. In the second half, the player began to screw up on defense, losing the ball and not making passes. The unpredictable Monk is at it again. In special mode, he fends off blow after blow with unreal somersaults and jumps on the field. The brawl continues, and Saucer shows what a sucker he is in soccer. He constantly loses the ball and is unable to hit an empty goal even from a few meters. During the confrontation, the guard spit in the back of the Iranian's head. It was too much and the man just punched the offender in the face, for which he got a straight red card. The Zecs were outnumbered. Monk had more work to do, but at least he stopped running away from the goal. Troy did all the work again and passed to Ketch, who shot superbly and the goalkeeper couldn't stop the ball. The score became 2-0 in favor of the cons. However, Monk played too much and began to dance with the ball at the penalty line. The opponent did not forgive him for such insolence and the guards reduced the score gap to 1 goal. Everyone was shocked that Monk admitted his mistake. Another goal almost went in his goal. The convicts cracked up, especially Danny looking lousy. He pretended to be injured. Borton doesn't like this behavior of his opponent. Massa is also disappointed. He didn't think the captain would sell them out. But he doesn't make a substitution yet, which makes 11 guards facing only 9 prisoners, and then the score is tied, 2-2. Danny changed his mind and went on the field to win, but the team doesn't believe in him anymore. So Troy wouldn't pass to him during the attack, so Danny had to do everything himself. He's running all over the field, and in the meantime Monk has checked Hitchhiker's crotch again. The ball went into the guard's goal, but the goal was cancelled because Hatchet had been crippled earlier. A free kick was awarded to Monk and the Maniac took it. The ball was kicked to the center of the field, where there was only Danny and one defender, whom he beat. He went one-on-one with the goalkeeper dropped him, but Danny got up and stopped with the ball just outside the goalpost. He didn't shoot, he let the crooked-footed Saucer do it and he blasted it into the empty goal with all his might. The inmates took the lead just before the final whistle. They were victorious. The warden approached Danny and promised to ruin his life, but Burton stood up for him and thanked the player for his good play. At this point, the warden's wheelbarrow went airborne. Booker says hello to him.